so impressed with how much they've developed.
And KOO is the person that we're looking for that's really been symptomatic of their rise. In these last 8 games, about an 8.8 KDA, playing out of his skin after what's been, basically since Champions Finals, a real rough patch for this player.
Indeed. Well, what do we have drop here in picks and bans? We had a bit of an odd draft in the last game, we can say. Lots of pocket bans, interestingly. And that opened up the first pick Rise, the second round Callista Gragas. These are all first pick worthy champions that came out in the first 3.
KOO answered with the Rise ban, so they're definitely not wanting to see any Rise hijinks from Ixu. Again, we haven't seen Rise from many players. Smebs was obviously really fearful, and the top lane bans actually continue with the Rumble ban.
Interesting. Last game, it was Anarchy really focusing on that mid lane, and this time, the Tigers, who took out the Maokai, took out the Hecarim in the last game, trying to shut down Ixu. We'll see what their red side strategy will be. Alistar not going to be able to be first picked by Anarchy in this one.
It'll be a Gragas first pick, you'd have to think, if it's available. Much more likely to be Lyra on the jungle Gragas, but they've already flexed the pick, so now it does loom as a flex pick for Anarchy. Remains to be seen whether Gragas will be available for first pick, as Sivir is the ban coming through for Anarchy.
No more scuttle crabbing for Prey, or for Sungyun for that matter. Kalista is not going to be dealt with one more time, even though they contained the Kalista quite well in that last game. Just too big of a risk. So where's Anarchy go? Almost certainly to the Gragas, like you're saying in this scenario.
It's one of those situations where Hecarim and Maokai are both available. It's probably going to be the top lane matchup, whatever's snapped away. So I think Gragas as a priority makes a lot of sense.
I don't know. I think Smeb could easily play Gnar into either of the Hecarim or the Maokai in this game. So we may not see the tree versus the horse. But wow, that would be a very high priority placed on Maokai. I don't think you do that.
I think at the cost of Gragas, especially Wisdom, who's an excellent Gragas player, it's a bit of a head scratcher. It is an early power spike top laner. Maybe you can make teleport plays around, but valuing it that high over the jungle pool availability, you have to expect Gragas to be snapped up on the first round on the red side.
What this says to me, Papa Smithy, is Lyra's playing Lee Sin or something like that again, and they just want to make plays on the top lane and try and shut down Smeb if he does take something with lower mobility. Now, if you're Smeb here, I think you just take something extremely safe, and that'll be the Corki lock-in. KOO Tigers love to early pick Corki Gragas.
I don't think you seem to know much about Smeb, considering you're talking about safety. I don't think he's going to pick safety. Is it going to be Riven time again?
I don't know if I would play Riven into something like Maokai Lee Sin. Again, the Victor is available. Obviously, Mickey doesn't really care if KOO plays that champion. Mickey plays Victor himself, so he's going to be comfortable blind picking it. But remember that KOO also a big-time Kassadin guy. So we could see that same reverse matchup. He's not going to be able to punish in quite the same way with a Zed, but could still play the Cass.
Almost certainly the last pick on the red side looms to be KOO's mid lane, and so no real rush to lock in the mid lane. They want them to blind pick one of their lanes, and they've already picked the Maokai on the blue side. We're waiting for an answering top laner. Gnar does loom as a possibility, as you mentioned, it's one of Smeb's main champions, but do you see something different coming through?
Most teams would take the top here, but KOO is a team that likes to last pick Riven on red side, so
it'd be suspicious.
It would definitely be suspicious. It also is harder to bully the Maokai than it is to bully a Rumble with the Riven. The Lucian here, the Thresh, you know, Stowflower is going to be getting that really strong champion for him, where he is able to really make those big plays on the map. It looks like
look at those summoner spells, Monte Cristo.
Smeb's going for the Fizz. The Cinderhulk Fizz is incoming. Gorillas says, I've got an MVP performance on this Annie. I'm going to take her again.
We still dream for a player like Mickey on everyone's favorite new assassin and Echo. Hasn't been locked in. It's a pretty safe choice. Kassadin certainly wouldn't be a safe choice.
Especially in the jungle.
It's true.
Now, do they think that this Fizz is going into the mid lane for KOO? If I was Anarchy, this doesn't look like a KOO champion to me. This looks like a Smeb champion.
And in this meta, there's like, on one hand, you could count the people still playing Fizz mid. You can think of players like Pawn who would still opt into it, but almost exclusively a top lane champion outside of Tucson.
in certain counter matchups in mid lane.
Sure.
Obviously, we saw Crown play it and do very well against Easy Hoon, but you wouldn't blind pick it.
Speaking of blind picks, though, LeBlanc is still available in, what is it, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth round of picks. It's a champion that's been banned earlier today. Lot of mid-game power from Anarchy, but potential lack of damage in the late game.
KOO, I think you take the victor here. Otherwise, you're going to lack wave clear. The Kassadin is obviously going to do very well against the LeBlanc in lane, but, I mean, Echo's a good choice. I'm not sure how good Kuro would be on this champion. To me, this would be something that is much more Smeb-focused as well. But the Fizz Kassadin is such a risk when you have a Lucian on the other side who can really push down those towers. And you know Snowflower is going to be all up in your business in the mid lane too, throwing hooks at you with that Thresh.
With the first rotation Sivir, maybe it could be the case, but with Sivir banned away, this is a high-risk Kassadin if it's locked in. Now, it is a good lane matchup. Almost, I would go so far as to say, a favorable lane matchup for Kassadin against the LeBlanc. It will be locked in. There is downside to this KOO comp. There is risk, especially around wave clear.
Yes. Yes, there is. But they are going to have some decent damage right here. I'm not a big fan of, like, Corky Kassadin Fizz, personally.
Annie, Gragas, that's 5 magic damage champions.
Yeah, this is
the Aegis game of all Aegis games.
It's a great pick comp if you can make it work. But this is a bit of a wacky comp from the KOO Tigers. I feel like a top team would really punish this. I'm not sure if Anarchy is going to be able to legitimately pull that off. Also, Mickey hasn't been as good on LeBlanc as he has been on some of his other assassins like Zed or Ari. Just hasn't been quite as impressive. And you are pointing out something very interesting, which is that Wisdom is taking teleport in the jungle.
So teleport smite Master Yi is definitely a career thing.
He changed at the last second.
Okay, that was literally a 0-second change.
It was 0-second change over to Flash. So it looked like we were going to see something wacky, but just wipe our brows and be glad that it didn't go through. So this game, Anarchy has a very well-rounded composition, good advantages in lane. KOO Tigers need to hold on to those turrets early if they want to make it good late. So let's get into Game 2, Anarchy versus the KOO Tigers. Even Anarchy's cheer is chaotic. I love it.
At least they got one out there this game after what no doubt was the main contributor into their fall in Game 1.
That was actually the most chaotic cheer I think I've ever heard from a Korean audience here in this studio.
So top lane Fizz. It's often something we talk about. I know your feelings on it. You're not a big fan. You remain to be convinced. I think in a lot of ways I agree, especially in the wave clear rounds. It's weird to have a champion in top lane that doesn't even max their wave clear ability. Of course, Maokai can happily max the Arcane Smash, trade and clear waves as he so needs. Fizz will max the W, the Seastone Trident, just for trading. Maybe max the E second, the Playful Trickster. Sometimes even maxes it third. One thing I will tell you, in the late game, Mickey and Sungyun are the only damage dealers on the Anarchy side, and Tank Fizz, Cinderhulk Fizz can do one thing. It's isolate a target and buy a lot of time. So you build that Frozen Heart, you build the Cinderhulk, you run at Sungyun. If he's forced out of the fight, you only have burst damage from Mickey, and maybe that's enough to take KOO over the line in 5v5 fights.
Well, the issue with LeBlanc, though, is that if you want to try and get the damage down, you run the risk of getting within Gorilla's W stun range.
True.
And that can be really brutal. And it's very easy to hit that ability on a Distortion, LeBlanc, Smeb. Me taking the Wolves here, of course. Lane swap initiated by Anarchy. That's actually going to be quite good, I feel, for the KOO Tigers. They're going to dodge Lucian when he's going to be most strong against this bottom side. But it's also going to free up Snowflower, who we've seen is quite good at the old roam.
Both these champions, excellent roamers. From level 2 Snowflower, and of course, level 1 from the Annie can have access to AoE stuns. So a lot of pressure potentially could be put in mostly the mid lane, you'd have to think, given that's the only isolated matchup.
Yeah, KOO just going to start playing pretty back early on right here. KOO going to get zoned out after Mickey hits that faster level 2. And he actually, KOO, we didn't mention this, he stayed in base there for an extra potion at the start of this game.
So KOO are jungling on the weak side. They have no backup whatsoever on the top. It looks like they're going to get the Raptors. And he spots out. Could we see 3v3 action around the red when the red itself is claimed away? But surprising pathing from KOO.
Yeah, checking that out right there. Maybe a bit greedily, but no, that is not a fight you take early on.
And while I agree with you, the fact that they sent 3 members to the top side seems pretty curious to me.
Yeah, it does. There's certainly a risk with that. Now they're going to go on to Mickey right now. Mickey, not a lot of mana.
They have so many different angles against Mickey, and he's so far up the lane.
I think this is going to be the end of Mickey right here.
Wait for the distortion.
Yeah, they're looking for it. They want to get it. They're going to flash W. Okay, goodbye.
She opens up a lot of space. Can KOO chase with the flash? He definitely can. Well played by Wisdom, and first blood to KOO.
Yeah, there's basically no way, if you're that far forward, even with a distortion, even with a flash, you can get out of that. There's too many gap closers and stuns to be safe. Now, if the kill doesn't go on to KOO, it's a little bit of a side bonus right there, but man, that is sloppy. Mickey shouldn't be playing that far forward when he knows exactly where the KOO Tigers are. He had the information. They walked away through the middle lane out of the red buff. They were seen by that sapling. So you have to know which side of the lane they're on right there, considering they wrap back around and can't make plays like that.
Also early enough in the game that all his friends, whether it's Lyra or Snowflower, didn't have access to wards to give him defensive vision. I guess it kind of begs the question, does he need the vision to function? Because he is so often so far extended up the lane. It grants him advantages, it grants his team advantages, both chip damage onto turrets and extra CS and gold for himself, but it comes at the cost of a very binary playstyle. Anarchy, if they do one thing every game, it's play around Mickey.
Yeah. That is certainly true. Smeb going to sneak into the top side now after the assist on that kill alongside Gorilla, who's already set up. And he's going to find himself with just a little bit of a CS advantage. And in the meantime, throughout all of those shenanigans, Prey has a really good freeze going on the bottom side. So KOO with a big edge in terms of their waves right now.
We actually saw Prey very aggressively freezing the wave. Very nice mechanics to do that. And that's led to a situation where a Maokai, who has so many different ranged farming options, especially for a tank, is being out-CS thoroughly by Smeb on this Fizz. 20-9, given the 2 champions, is massive.
Not to mention that Ixu went back and picked up another Doran's ring, so he's invested a lot in his early game. He's going to put him behind in terms of his larger, later itemization. KOO going to get chained in the mid lane.
I'm really interested to watch Anarchy in the second half of the season, because if they continue to play the way they do, where you know that Mickey will overextend consistently, it feels like they'll be found out more and more. And okay, they don't have a lot of wins to their name, but they're right up there in terms of those bottom teams. They're looking around the 6th or 7th position, despite the fact that they are so consistent at overextending in the mid lane around their carry.
Well, for them to get 6th would take, I think, quite a fall from grace from one of the top 6 teams right now. There's pretty much a very clear dividing line between the top 6 and the bottom 4 teams in this league at the moment. It's obviously a very long season. We're not even halfway through yet. And here we go. There's a flash play. Gorilla going to get the stun off, though. Wisdom is there lurking, and he's going to get a big slow, but not before Lyra. And Songyu net the kill onto a squishy little Annie.
You say the Annie's squishy, but the important point there is that Snowflower was level 2 when that begun, but the aggressors are the ones that profit. It's a big win to get a lot of experience onto Snowflower, but in an even 3v3 with all those base stats being the advantage of KOO, that's actually quite significant for Anarchy.
Well, Wisdom was just late, though.
True.
Is the thing. The burst had already come down, so much easier for Anarchy to clean up, considering it was initiated by their team. So, well, you know, it was a nice gank, well executed, and this Fizz, too, it doesn't have a lot of damage yet, and he's not going to. Just going back right now, doesn't have that Cinder completed, so it's a Skirmisher Saber and a Ruby Crystal only for him.
I'd be pretty disappointed with Smeb if I saw, Ixu face checks. A lot of CC and damage flashes away. Is it going to be enough? Doesn't look like it. Looks like he's inevitably going to fall here. The kill credit goes over to Wisdom. Probably could have given it to Prey, but might have had to use a summoner to pick it up.
Definitely could have given that one to Prey, Papa Smithy. The Ignite was already burning down. He needed like one more auto attack. A little bit unnecessary for the second kill of the game, as well as the first to go over to Wisdom. They do translate the kill into a dragon, but look how much damage Smeb is taking onto his tower. This is one of the issues with the Fizz, is that you have no way to stop this from happening. Even in the 1v1, the wave clear is just so incredibly poor.
And what you want to do as Fizz is lane against the Maokai. That's a situation where you can trade quite happily. Okay, he still has a farming advantage, but you're at least competitive in that lane. When you're standing next to Lucian Thresh, you basically have to exit lane wherever possible. So they give up a dragon, but it should be, at least in the next few seconds, traded for this top turret.
Yeah, and that is what is going to happen. Even the wave reversing right now, back towards Songyun. Might be some nice extra farm there for Ixu once he makes it into the top side. Wisdom and Gorilla do prevent Mickey from doing too terribly much to this tower. And Smeb sticks around a little bit longer just to push up.
What I was mentioning before is the build from Fizz. Cinderhulk into Trinity Force we see sometimes. This is not that sort of game because they have effectively 5 damage dealers. Even Gragas does very good damage from the jungle. All Fizz needs to do is force Songyun or Mickey out of a fight. So stack those statistics. Frozen Heart, a Spirit Visage, or the Banshee Veil will be fine, and get on top of a Squishy. He doesn't need to spend 4,000 gold on damage.
But this is the question, Papa Smith.
I'm listening.
If you're just going to build tank stats this game, why not just go for the Gnar, which is going to be able to accomplish much the same thing?
I think Fizz is pretty unique at getting on top of a carry like Lucian, for example. If you hit the fish, and that's a big if, it's very difficult to hit. Normally you should be peeled away. But the fish itself is 4 seconds of CC between the slows and the knock-up. He's very slippery. He's able to skip past the small amounts of CC available. That's the flash from Gorilla onto Snowflowers. Just for the stun, doesn't have access to Tibbers, but Snowflowers, Squishy, they knew he didn't have the flash. And Wisdom, it's another celebratory cask for his 3rd kill of the game.
Well, throwing a bash down there, that's the issue for me, Papa, is that when I look at this and I look at the fact that Gnar also may have been able to save his turret in the top lane and has, you know, at least marginally better wave clear and still has all of that upside of the Fizz that isn't determined around a single skill shot, that's where I'm like...
See, I don't necessarily agree with you just because, to me, Gnar is not a reliable champion. And it's not to say that Fizz is, it's just that Gnar, he can't tussle people up unless he's very split with his timing on the Mega Gnar. That's his big CC impact that will impact a backliner. If you run at someone as Fizz, you can at least do decent trade damage with your auto attacks. You have slows. You're able to, say, for example, draw out the Twisted Advance, then Playful Tricks to through it and throw the fish onto the AD carry. Yes, you are fish reliant, whether it's an AP build or in this case just for tussling up the backline, but I don't mind the Fizz in this situation, barring, of course, the laning weaknesses that it brings.
Yeah, and that, like I said, that's one of my major issues with it. I just think that... Oh, goodbye. Well, that looks a lot like last game.
Yeah, they're playing around bottom lane very intelligently. Songyun dies again. Only once this game, but of course both the bottom laners have fallen.
You know what I love, actually, that I hadn't considered about this Annie previously in this specific game?
This game in particular, okay.
Against this specific opponent, I should say, from the KOO Tigers, is that you know Snowflower roams a lot, and what it does is it punishes roams insanely hard if Gorilla just sits there and focuses on Songyun. And we've seen a lot of kills so far in this game where Snowflower just hasn't been there.
And led to a 32 CS advantage, and as you mentioned, it's just so hard to lane against instant cast CC. That's the unique thing about Annie, is there's no cast time whatsoever on her W. Just one of the reasons why whenever Ryze is back in meta, you remember, no cast time on his W either. Instant CC, so powerful in the league. It's a reason why Nautilus, a good pick, but the Nautilus Ultimate, not an engage option because the travel time is so long.
Well, they do pick up a tower in the mid lane for it, Anarchy. So they get something in the end, but they lost one in bottom as well, just to sort of equalize right there. And to me, Papa, I mean, Sangyun, they initiated this lane swap. They opted out of the period of time where Lucian can really bully the Corki in the lane before Prey hit level 6. And now a 30 CS advantage for Prey. Prey did a great job of freezing as well to get this advantage. But we really shouldn't be seeing Prey with this large of a CS edge at 12 minutes into the game.
I mean, more significantly than CS, he's got a Trinity Force and he's able to rotate into mid lane because remember, taking the bottom lane turret already, limited wave clear from LeBlanc, okay, can use the Mimic Distortion to clear one set of waves, but then the Trinity Force autos, and we're going to get a reminder of why Corki was such an important pick ban before Cinderhawk, is that KOO is an excellent team around playing around Corki power spikes. They've done it so much. Nothing has changed in terms of turret damage from a Corki, and LeBlanc only has the minimal options to deal with it.
Yeah, indeed. And Mickey, he's been shut down this game. He's 0-1-0. He hasn't had a chance to roam. They're coming up on another Dragon right here where Anarchy still not with a lot of MR yet, and KOO going to be in a really, I think, pretty good position here to deal some damage thanks to the Annie ultimate being back up. And I mean, that flash for Gorilla nearly up as well. Probably will be in time for the Dragon fight.
But let's take stock of the fact that you're giving KOO the advantage in a Dragon fight with scaling abound. Rod of Age just completed, so 10 minutes away. Cinderhawk effectively a scaling item. Cinderhawk not even completed by Smeb. Only instant power is from the Trinity Force from Corki, which granted is a big power spike. But you look down Anarchy's side, the only scaling option they've taken is the Avarice Blade from Lucian. But you're still saying team fights look difficult for Anarchy.
Well, Ixu here, at least he's going to go for the Catalyst as well. So he didn't go for the Quick Righteous Glory, which actually may have been a very key item to lock down Kuro before he gets even tankier.
You can't really lane against a Fizz with no
true.
magic resistance. Given the way the Seastone Trident autos work, you get so many procs of the Spectre's Cowl as you're dealing with it. So I think you have to itemize into it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Damage over time, definitely a big factor. And Kuro and Mickey, rather, trading a little bit, but Kuro gets the better of that with the help of his Spell Shield. Activate the Dragon with the Death Sentence doesn't quite land it onto Prey. But they don't have any vision around this Dragon right now. Anarchy.
They have good pink wards around their own blue, but that's not really an area going to be playing around. Okay, it's pressure off of Mickey, but Mickey's already got the turret, so you can't really parlay the pink wards they've invested to on the top side into much of an advantage.
There was a wacky mass recall there, actually, from the KOO Tigers. They just placed their wards and then ditched them.
Strange, and it is going to be the damage build from Smeb. I shouldn't be surprised, but maybe it's going to be just a Sheen into tank, but I just don't see the point, really.
I think that the only point to picking Fizz here, if you're going to pick it instead of a more standard tank, is to build damage.
Then you have effectively 4.5 damage dealers. It's,
yeah. I agree, it's too much. I mean, we've kind of talked this to death at this point. Neither of us are big fans of the KOO Tigers comp this game.
But they're making it work, and at Anarchy, awkwardly buying the immediate power en masse and not really being able to opt into fights even around Dragon.
I mean, they had a free Dragon right there. KOO was definitely had just pieced out of the pit, but they got too afraid to actually take it. There were a lot of pings down there. They took out a pink ward. They didn't see anything, and they have Tremor Sense as well. Lyra was right in front of the pit, but they just didn't do it.
In this weird scenario where Mickey's certainly not on Zed this game, he's on LeBlanc, but he's actually still opting into a split push against Kassadin. I guess both of them are highly maneuverable, so not likely to get collapsed upon, but very weird scenario where we have the AD carries farming in mid and the off-lane matchup of LeBlanc versus Kassadin.
Well, Gorilla really wants this one. Mickey's going to walk in. He has no idea Gorilla snuck in through the brushes. And there's a double W, Mickey just using it to push the wave a little bit.
Flash Tibbers could have been used there. Was still pretty risky. Just going to show himself now as Gorilla. I think the priority's more on the Dragon than getting the one pick.
Yeah, it was, but Mickey's ultimate going to be back up soon. Another death sentence onto the Dragon right there. I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity. I think they could have killed the LeBlanc or chunked her out, and it would have been worthwhile. But instead, here comes some damage down onto Wisdom, the Sigil of Malice. And Dragon goes to Gragas. TP onto the Lantern, however, and they're just going to collapse onto Lyra. Prey gets tied up in the backline with a Twisted Edge, flashes into the choke point there. There is the actual W out of the fight. Snowflower now gets focused down by Smeb. Everyone's so low except for Ixu. And Smeb gonna have to run. Kuro comes in with a W and then the Q to take him out. Ixu just getting burned down and tag teamed by a variety of members of KOO. And there you go. One more Sheen here. It's gonna get slowed by the sapling and then the arcane smash, but Wisdom, he's got enough to tie him up here, but that's gonna be a kill to Wisdom instead of onto a bigger threat.
Really nice skirmishing coming through from the KOO Tigers. They used the fact that the maneuverability in fights between the Playful Trickster and the Kassadin. So this teleport was after the objective already gone down. So it's a bit questionable, especially with Lyra dying instantly. This fight is very, very even because Prey is the first person to fall from the KOO Tigers. But as the fight develops, they're just not able to fight around their carries well enough. And Smeb is healthy and does consistent damage in these unorganized skirmishes.
Well, I think the other key right there is Mickey actually did end up dying because he went into the back line because he just got CC'd. And also, I really didn't like the Lantern TP to start that fight. That was a poor place to TP, and also it wasted Lantern entirely. There was nothing beneficial from the Dark Passage right there that came through. No shields, no ability to reposition some of your carries. Imagine if that Lantern had been up and used to get Mickey out of that backline after killing Prey instead, or something like that. Instead, Smeb just going to go 1v1 onto Mickey right here.
Able to use the Mimic Distortion to get away. I think even simpler, Monte Cristo. They're opting into a fight after Dragon's already dead. The objective was dead. At best, it was going to be what? A 2-for-2 trade, maybe some sort of even trade. They never were in a position in terms of their items to get a massive team fight victory. Smeb's caught out by Lyra. There's a lot of members here. Need to hit the hook. Don't. Now remember, he doesn't max Playful Trickster, but he's still pretty damn tanky and walks away.
Wow, Mickey's so low that he's afraid of moving too far forward. Now they're going to get the tower as a result, but no kill. 4 people on the bottom side. What are they going to give up? Looks like they're going to trade 1 for 1. Maybe more, actually.
Yeah, the mid turret for the bottom tower is not an ideal trade whatsoever. We'll see if KOO want to keep going.
They can definitely keep going. They've got this Trinity Force. Get as much damage down as they can.
Trinity Force, Corki, no wave clear. Maokai just walking up, doesn't have teleport, and will be a bit of a suicide teleport if he was to come in. 2 turrets for 1. Easy advantage there for KOO.
Hard to base race with a Corki at this young point in the game. You're just not going to be able to do that much. And they pay for it. They don't get the kill onto Smeb. Smeb just deftly avoiding that death sentence. And now blue buff for Kuro. Kuro starting to really come into his own right now. 6 stacks done on that Rod of Ages as he closes in on the final half of that item.
Let's guess. Educated guess is going to be Zhonya's second coming through for Kassadin, diving into the backline, then a really tanky Fizz as well. Smeb's caught out, hasn't used Playful Trickster yet, uses it now, still gets hit by the chains, but no one has died.
And Gorilla jumped on immediately, but Corki really doing a lot of damage with the Gat in that choke point right there. Prey totally protected as Smeb comes through. 4 for 1. They got Gorilla, but not before he dropped the Timbers, so it didn't really matter. And then Prey just had such good positioning. He put down so much damage in that team fight.
The superior item timing is reigning true. Remember, we mentioned in Champions Select, the Aegis Dream, 5 magic damage dealers from KOO. No sign of an Aegis, just the more selfish choice by Lyra of the Spectre's Cow. In fact, an Aegis is completed by Wisdom. Just don't have the item timings to opt into these fights, and if they keep skirmishes, they're going to keep losing the fights.
Yeah, that Aegis lack is really hurting Anarchy, and there is Prey in the booth having a giggle about how easy it was just to stand there and not move and hit all of his auto attacks in that last fight.
The siege turret approach.
It's like, I should have been playing Kog'Maw, damn it.
Don't give him any inkling of that. He'll play the Kog'Maw before.
Oh,
too.
I know. The Juggermaw, the glorious Juggermaw of the KOO Tigers will return. Really going to find Lyra right here. They know it. So this blue buff, man, that'd be a nice pickup for Prey right now, but probably going to get smited. Nope, Prey gets it. Okay.
Didn't have Smite available as far as I can see, Eve. Hard to tell on our monitor, but looks like it was on cooldown. Smiting the blue buff if you're Lyra is not ideal, but giving it away to Prey, just that much worse.
It's so bad at this point of the game. In fact, this is where Corki really shines. And Prey going to be having just that many more rockets right here. No Baron Vision whatsoever from Anarchy, and they've got to face check it sooner rather than later. Gorilla will be lurking in the brush with the flash and the bear.
Teleports used. Remember, Fizz, even building full tank, has very good damage to the Baron with the W max. They're going to DPS it down. They've even got Gorilla on lookout duty. It's down to 1800 health. It's going to be a free Baron to KOO.
Well, Anarchy, Mickey trying to get that split push. They want to take something at the very least for this Baron, but that
Howard recalls are pretty quick.
And so are home guard boots. Smeb is there in an instant, not even letting him have a turret right now. Fish onto Ixu. There's the knockup. Lantern will get him out. No one to be able to stand up. Wow, very big flash there from Wisdom.
Get the mini stun into the wall, but they put down the box. Will Prey be able to follow? Looks like he doesn't have Valkyrie. They get away, but they don't even pick up that one turret to trade for Baron.
No, nor did they fall back to get this dragon right now, so that is going to be number 3 for the KOO Tigers, barring some sort of big steal here. It's going to reset a little bit. Oops, and then Gragas simply smites it away, so they've got everything they want. The KOO Tigers, only 3 kills this game for Anarchy in just a dominant showing from KOO.
And when it comes to win conditions, remember, that's a third dragon at 23 minutes, so 35 minutes is a very early 5 dragon stack if they so need it. I'm very reluctant to say they do, given they're running down with Baron buff. They have the item timings. How is Lucian ever going to do damage to a level 13 Kassadin with Zhonya's, or even just the Fizz we talked about, who's a damage threat with the Sheen? 2 damage threat, but one of them is going to be tussled up by the Assassins. Tibbers comes down.
Yeah, tried to catch Mickey, but that didn't work out for them. Didn't even get much damage. Mickey still coming in hard with the poke from the side. That actually may break up this Baron, or this siege attempt right here on the mid lane. Prey has to get back, does get hit by the Sigil.
Double Sheen procs, whether it's the Sheen from Fizz or the Trinity Force, means the turret is not long for this world. They're looking really, because it's a really aggressive use of the ultimate, but there's the re-engage.
And here we go. Smeb has to start auto-attacking Ixu at the front side. Kuro is already all over Snowflower and Mickey in the back. Zonya's popped, and Songyun finds him all alone against Smeb and Prey. The fight broken up, and that's one of those situations where this Kassadin and this Fizz really excel.
There's no way to peel them off. They even have Baron buff minions to help with their trades. It's going to be, at minimum, the inhibitor. Short death time, so the game might not end here, but then again, we'll wait to see what KOO want to do.
That's one of those situations where I really disagree with Anarchy's choice to engage, because Gorilla's ult was down, and that's really the only way that KOO has to actually initiate a dive, and they have to dive. There's Kassadin and Fizz on the enemy team. They are in melee range. You're going to be able to clear those waves, I think, well enough with a culling and with W's from the LeBlanc. I mean, engaging right there back into the Annie was probably one of the worst things they could do in that situation.
I'm kind of iffy on that particular one. You look down Anarchy's lineup against Baron buff minions, the culling and LeBlanc's wave clear doesn't do much. Still probably going to need to be a dive. It was just a window they tried to exploit with the Tibbers down. Maybe they'd be able to have Songyun not get tussled up, but the Fizz Fish was still up. He took him out in the back line. That's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, I mean, with this big of a lead, KOO obviously looking to close this one out very quickly and doing a good job. We haven't seen the mistake that we saw in the last time of pushing too greedily and really giving Anarchy any kind of hope or window back into this game.
So why is the Fizz working in this game and just hasn't worked reliably? We saw the game from CJ where, okay, they just picked a really poor comp with no sorts of wave clear, but why is this in this game, is the Fizz working better? Is it because KOO are a much better team than Anarchy, or is the Fizz actually contributing anything unique?
Sure. I mean, when you have this big of an advantage, I think that you can skirmish very efficiently, especially as we're moving into this Trinity Force build from Fizz. And how are you going to stop the split push from Fizz either is a big question. But to me, this is okay. As Wisdom gets grabbed right there, nearly bursted down. He does die in the end. Now it's going to be a 5v4. Ixu going to catch Prey, but Prey Valkyrie's back out. They burn down Ixu with the help of the fish, and here's the big reversal coming around with the help of Prey. And Kuro uses that Rift Walk, gets the Force Pulse, and now on the outside, Kuro just wants to back off. Mickey wants the 1 kill. Zonya's baited, though, And Mickey will pay. KOO gets some sweet ice-cold revenge after the bait.
And there's one thing Smeb can do on Fizz, it's turret, it's dive the fountain. Very nice play there. They back away. They got a pick, but 5v4, we mentioned the fact that it's effectively 5 damage dealers. With Gragas dead, it's certainly 4 damage dealers. And they still made them pay.
And Smeb gonna get a second Glacial Shroud. Like you do, you know. Nope, figured it out. Okay.
Doesn't get much of a refund value. Has to pick up just a Ruby Crystal in exchange.
Well, I think this is just a symptom of the KOO Tigers being so far ahead that any complaints that we have about their composition as Wisdom wave clears with his ultimate are rather moot. Has to flash.
Just advance comes on. Lyra's around as well. They don't think they have the damage here though, and Smeb does damage and is super tanky. Doesn't matter. Turns out you're not tanky to 5 people.
Yeah, he gets shut down, but amazingly he takes Snowflower with him, finds the squishiest target. Wisdom doesn't have ult to actually finish this fight now. He's getting a little silly for the Tigers.
Yep, they've got a big gold lead, 14,000 gold. The next dragon spawns in 40. Realistically, they shouldn't need any of those things, given they've broken the base in top and bot and have 2 inhibitors, but KOO definitely do switch off at weird points in games, sometimes too early that can actually hold them behind, but in this game, probably not going to be punished too hard.
Ixu going in, but he is just melted as he's focused down by all the damage dealers from KOO. Lyra, the second to fall, and there's a very aggressive Falcon forward, coordinated with the Riftwalk. Death Sentence gonna miss, and Snowflower destroyed for the double kill. KOO wants 3, he gets 3 as they finish out this game. Super Minions there to assist, and so is Smeb after TPing in. This will be an easy win, a cakewalk for the KOO Tigers.
And Monty, in the second half of this first round, the KOO Tigers have rampaged through, I believe 4 teams it is now, so lots of points in a row. KOO's looked excellent. Another 20 KDA game, in fact, infinite KDA, having not died 8-0 and 12. This guy, right up there with Faker in terms of form players in the league.
Yeah, and you can't really say enough good things about KOO's recent performance. Again, he came in as what, number 2 in terms of kills overall in this league, just behind Goong. Now he's going to be number 1.
16 kills in this series.
Yeah, by a long shot, actually. Going to be number 1 here, and his performance just continues to improve. He seems to really play well with his team. Is he that guy who's going to make you the big play like Faker will that wins you the game? That's probably not him, but he's playing